I would probably have to say that I don't lean towards female workforces as much as I do male. I seem to work better.
You know, I had tons of people telling me, you know, what are you doing? You know, why do you want to go be a filmmaker? You're never gonna succeed. You're never gonna, you know, if I would have listened to everybody who told me I'm never gonna, I would have never gonna.
I worked hard, and Celeste, the other female who is in this department with me, she worked hard too. I mean, I tried. There's that feeling that I'm sort of walking into the boys' club in there, because I am, right, at the end of the day. I think that nowadays females are leaning into more male-dominated careers, or maybe just careers in general that they haven't leaned into maybe necessarily before. And that's incredible. That's awesome that females are sort of linking arms and empowering one another to break that metaphorical glass ceiling, right? And I think a lot of times we always ask each other, we're like, where are the men who are up there willing to throw the boulders down through that glass ceiling? And for me, those men are in there.
How I came through film was from starting in the grip and electric department. So I did a lot of grunt work, and then worked myself into gaffing and working as like a best broad. I think that, you know, I've always had to prove that I could do things. I always had to prove that I could lift the equipment. I had to prove that I could carry the equipment. There were men who were helpful, and there were men who basically were critical about me doing those things, critical that I couldn't do things. But I was working on a show. It was my first paid gig, and I was his best gal, and I worked for a month for him and did a bang-up job. I cleaned on days when we weren't lighting and we were doing more like natural lighting stuff and there wasn't a lot for me to do. I cleaned his whole entire truck and repaired a lot of his equipment and, like, you know, reorganized and like just did things to keep myself busy and to be helpful and, you know, learned some things about what was on his truck and things. We got to the end of the shoot after working for a month, 18-hour days with this guy, and I said, hey, you know, I'm new and I like to, you know from everybody that I work with, you know, what did I do good and where could I improve, and, you know, how do you think I did, you know? And he said, you were the best boy I've ever had. And I said, awesome. So when can we work together again? And he looked at me and he said, oh, we'll never work together again. And I said, why? And he said, because you can't carry an HMI as far and as fast as I can. So I knew from that point on that I was going to have to kind of prove myself and figure out how to navigate in a man's world.
Construction, you know, they're happy to have women in the industry and those that have a background in design, you know, but I guess my advice to women that are looking into male-dominated careers is just, you know, do your homework. Do whatever you need to be, you know, at the table prepared and, you know, just be clear on what your intent is, you know. Don't be vulnerable, because And vulnerability isn't really a weakness, it's just the way that you go about it.
But yeah, especially as a female, you gotta be confident. You gotta kind of own your stuff and rock your stuff, and you know, don't give them a reason to question you, right? Just come in, being a team player.
But as a woman, I think that you have to. We have to be better. We have to be stronger. We have to be smarter. We have to, unfortunately, work 10 times harder sometimes in order to be seen. It doesn't matter what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you want to be in film or you want to be a cop or you want to be whatever. I mean, there's always going to be obstacles, and there's always going to be the people who tell you that you can't do something. You have to decide you want to do it more than they tell you that you can't. And yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. But I don't think anything that's worth doing is easy. I think you have to just persist. Nevertheless, she persisted.